Hey there, welcome to the Impatient Entrepreneur Podcast, a show where we hear from entrepreneurs and business owners who are chomping at the bit to make their mark on the world. I'm your host, Lauren Quidar-Cockrell. Now, let's hurry up and get to the good stuff. Hi, friends. I have such a cool guest today. My pal, Brandy Derrick, is here. We've known each other for a couple of years now. We met as the only women in an all-male entrepreneurial cohort a couple of years ago and really just kind of fell in love from there. Always had a lot to talk about as we were growing our businesses side by side. Brandy has a really cool company. I can't wait for her to talk to us about today. And I'm just honored by you being here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. So, Brandy, will you tell everybody about Legal Ease and kind of what y'all do and what you focus on?
Yeah. So the company name is Legal Ease Bookkeeping. And if you can't tell by the name, we do bookkeeping and we do it for law firms, mostly solo practitioners, meaning they're by themselves or just a couple of employees, and we work with people all over the United States. And they're law firms that are not big enough to where they really need an in-house person doing it, but maybe the attorney's been trying to do their bookkeeping since they started their business, and either they have no idea what they're doing or it's getting too big to where they can't handle it all by themselves. And so we come in and help them out on a part-time basis.
So first of all, I love your business name and I'm actually quite jealous of it.
Thank you.
I mean, you took something that's like a term, like people have heard legalese before, and then you've made legal ease. So it's easy for a lawyer. You're providing like an easy service, bookkeeping. And what was actually interesting to me, one time you and I had like a solo workshop session when some other folks couldn't meet, and you explained to me why bookkeeping for attorneys is so important. I mean, I would say most small businesses need bookkeeping just to make sure they keep their stuff straight.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we all maybe didn't get a degree in accounting or whatever. We didn't do all that great in managerial accounting, pointing to myself. But you really opened my eyes to how important it is for attorneys. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, the biggest thing is that the bar associations in every state and cities have their own rules too, and sometimes it gets really small. But they have bar association rules that dictate how they need to do their bookkeeping for a particular bank account that they have. It's called, in some states, it's called the IOLTA account. It might have other names in other states, but essentially, when you go in, let's say you're getting a divorce and you pay somebody $5,000, they put that into this special bank account. And then as they earn the money, as they work towards earning that money, they've worked 5 hours on that, then they get to move over money from that special bank account to their operating account. And while it's in that special bank account, that's sort of governed by the bar association. And if they don't follow the bar association rules for how to keep track of that, they have to do a special reconciliation on it. It's called a three-way reconciliation. Some states require reports to be sent in to prove that you've done this. Anyways, if they don't keep track of that money properly, they will lose their bar license. And that is actually the number one reason why attorneys get disbarred, is from taking money out of that account when they shouldn't have. It's basically you're stealing from your clients, and it's very much frowned upon. And if you do it by mistake, they generally let you off, but you can't do it by mistake too many times before they're going to say that this is not correct. But what does happen is people, they need money to meet payroll. And so they just take money out when they shouldn't. And that's the instances when they're definitely going to get disbarred. But if they go negative in that account, the banks are automatically required to notify the State Bar Association, and that'll be an automatic audit on them to find out, like, how did you go negative in this account? You should have never. There should be never a reason why this account should go negative. So anyways, they're not very good at keeping track of it. And so they need help. And that's where we come in.
I had no idea that attorneys had to deal with this. And so thank goodness there's people like you to take care of it. You also taught me something interesting. What is it? There's some sort of, was it the interest from those accounts that goes to fund? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the interest on those accounts, the IOLTA accounts, goes to pay for people who cannot afford attorneys. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of like savings accounts in a way, because every single month there'll be money that goes into that account for interest on the funds sitting there. Mm-hmm. And then it automatically goes out. The attorney doesn't have anything to do with it, but the money goes into the bank account and then it automatically goes out and it gets sent to the state, where then they use that money to pay for people who can't afford attorneys.
As just how intertwined these private practice funds are connected with really, I guess, a legal right by being a citizen of the United States is you get to have you have a right to an attorney, even if you can't afford one. One will be provided to you,
right?
And it's all they're keeping their bank accounts. I remember you telling me all that. I felt like I was the mind blown emoji just listening to you. Like, what?
Yeah. Well, when I started learning it all too, because I've been doing bookkeeping for 15 years before I started doing it for attorneys, and just learning it all, I was like, oh, wow, this is really different than a lot of other bookkeeping, and you have to be really careful with it. So it's kind of nerve-wracking, but it's also kind of a challenge, which was very interesting to me. It's like, oh, let's figure this out and get really good at it.
Yeah. And tell us about your business. So when did you start your company?
7 years ago, in 2016.
And you have how many team members now?
Now I have 8.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's really exciting. I just hired another person last week. So I'm like, how many is it? Yes, it's 8.
Just blowing and growing. I always enjoyed hearing you tell people about your business and watching people get so excited about the trajectory of your business. They're just like, oh yeah, you're on your way. Well, okay. So most important question of the whole day, are you an impatient entrepreneur?
Oh man, I'd like to say, or I kind of think no is the answer, but then I'm like, of course you are impatient. I have all these ideas on things that I want to start or get to in my business. And I'm like, why can't I just get there right now? Or like training somebody that's brand new to bookkeeping or brand new to bookkeeping for law firms. And I have to teach them all this stuff. And I'm like, oh man, why does it take so long to learn all of this? And then, I kind of forget that I've been doing this for 20 years. So it's a lot different. But I would definitely say that I'm impatient. I can see where I'm going or where I want to go. And can't I just get there tomorrow? Like, why does it take so long?
Well, I'm glad you're a member of the club. So do you, how do you educate yourself, or inspire yourself as, coming up with ideas for what to implement for the business? Do you read books? Do you listen to podcasts? What kind of things do you do?
I do quite a bit of different things. One of the things that I really enjoy doing is going to conferences. I go to at least 3 bookkeeping conferences every year, and then I'll go to some smaller group bookkeeping get-togethers also throughout the year. And that really helps me learn a lot more about like what softwares are out there. What are other people doing? How are they helping their clients? What are some new things that we need to do with our business? And when new things come out, like the stuff during COVID, the SBA loans and things like that, like just trying to stay at the front of learning all of those things, so then we can be there to be able to help our clients navigate those loans and how's this all going to work and whatever. I'm part of a couple of different groups that are constantly feeding us information so we can stay on the forefront of those things. But I do also love to read and And I also listen to quite a few podcasts. I think I just told you, but like I binged all of your podcasts. I love them. They're great.
Thank you.
That's been super motivating. And then two of my bookkeeping friends, they started one called Unaccountable, and they are hilarious. It's they do it like a game show, and they teach about accounting stuff, but like in a really fun way. And I'm learning things listening to them, but also laughing out loud. And I just love it.
That's cool.
But the other one that I listen to, and I've been listening to this one for a long time, like over 5 years, is the Jordan Harbinger Show. And he has a ton of authors on there. A lot of them are business books, or like self-help or self-improvement type authors that come in and they do deep dives on what is in the book. And then I'll, if I really like it, I'll purchase the book and then go into a deeper dive on it. And that's where I tend to find a lot of the books that I read, is by listening to his show. It's
okay, good. Cool. I love the game show idea for the podcast. I'm like, ooh, that's inspiring. You know, it's something that's different rather than, you know, I enjoy the storytelling format like this one. And thank you for being a listener. But that's, you know, to have someone do something different, I think is exciting, and definitely probably inspires you a little bit more because it's a different format and kind of touches different parts of your brain and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you can actually be funny and laugh and, you know, be an accountant.
Yes. Yes, you are proof positive that you can be a fun, enjoyable person with a sense of humor and also be an accountant. What are you creating anything right now? Like any new services or products? Or I know you've been doing some internal systems and things like that for a while.
Yeah, I've been really working on internal stuff for quite a bit, on building a whole video series of training for my employees, which we're getting super close to getting that done. We've been working on it for almost a year now. But that is, I think that's going to be really helpful internally. And then we haven't really been taking on a lot of new clients in the last year because I just really haven't had the team to do it. But I came up with an idea for a lead magnet and a tool that an attorney can use. They connect it to their QuickBooks, and then it prints them out a report, and it says, "Hey, here's how your IOLTA account is all messed up, and you should use us to help you to fix it." And I heard about lead magnets a long time ago, and I've been trying to come up with something for my business for years, and I just never really had an idea. And so now that I have this idea, I'm like, oh, this is great. So I have somebody helping me build the tool right now, and I'm just really excited. Once it's finished getting built and we can test it on a couple of our own internal clients, then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to start, try this new marketing idea. I think it'll be great.
Well, and that'll be exciting because you'll have your internal processes hopefully fully baked by then,
right?
Which is helpful to you as you do scale. I mean, those internal repeatable processes are critical for that, so you don't break the team when you do get that next level of client wave. And then, I mean, I do know that you have sort of like a passive lead magnet that's out there, your YouTube video.
Yeah. I made some videos, about 6 YouTube videos when I first started my business. And one in particular has just gotten quite a few. I've gotten quite a few clients off of it. It has a lot of views, and people watch it and then they'll reach out to me and be like, I don't want to do this. Can you do my bookkeeping for me? I'm like, yes, I can.
I mean, that is like the secret sauce in a lead generator is illuminating, there's a path forward and you can do it yourself, but you are going to hate every moment of it. So, we may already know the answer then, but what are you most impatient about right now?
Oh man, I really wish my training program was 100% done. It's like so annoying to me that I have kept putting it off and like, but I haven't had the team to take other things off of my plate so that I could work on it. And so just now in like the last 2 weeks, I feel like I've been able to mentally breathe again and really do work on my business instead of working in my business.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I'm back working on my business, I guess, I don't know. I'm just like, okay, get this dang training program all the way done. And then once that's done, then I'll feel a huge weight off of my shoulders with that.
I can only imagine. I mean, I think that just sounds so cool. I would love to follow in your footsteps somehow. Not sure what exactly all the things we were trained on. I'm sure like as soon as I sat down and thought about it, I'd be like, oh yeah, we've got some material we can put together, but it takes so much diligence and patience and fortitude to really not only just conceptualize it and then map it out, but to create it and stick with it. Oof, that's a lot.
Yeah. And then I guess, but the thing is to remember, which I have a hard time with this, is that it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
You're going to have forgotten some stuff. Your processes, by the time I get done doing this video series, we probably have processes that are changed, but at least it'll be like, I just can fix that one thing and, move forward from there.
Right. And, I do think that is something that is common where people like, oh, well, if I do it, I'm just going to have to change this later. I mean, I hear that all the time. And that is ultimately just an excuse. You can still create something, you can iterate it and fix it later. Having the meat and potatoes finished and out there that you can then go back and redress it or add a new appetizer or whatever. Just don't get hung up on, okay, yes, this thing has to change eventually. Let's at least get something going for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. Thinking about your business, has there been a moment in the last, we'll focus on the Legal Ease portion, the last 7 years that when this thing happened to you, you felt like this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I don't know how I'm going to recover from this. But then ultimately later on, it turned out to be the best thing that's ever happened to you?
I've been thinking about this and I don't know that there's been any one thing that's been like really, really bad in my business. But when I first started my business, I may have had like a client or two at this point. I went out to lunch with one of my friends and she brought a friend of hers along to lunch, a person that I didn't know. And we were sitting there talking about my business. And I was talking about how I don't really like talking to people in person and I'm kind of shy and I made some YouTube videos and I'm trying to connect with people on LinkedIn and try to get sales that way, as opposed to going to like networking events or cold calling people or doing these other things. And this person that I don't know tells me that I'm never going to be successful and I'm never, ever going to have a business if I can't talk to people. And I thought, she's right. And I went home and the next day, I just cried and I did not get out of bed the whole entire next day. I sat there with the covers over my head, just crying and feeling like an utter failure and that I am never, ever going to be able to do this and be successful. And it was a work day. So I skipped work that day. And because I did have a full-time job at that point. And so I called my dad who owns his own business. I called my sister. I called my husband. I called all these different people and they were all like, Brandy, you can do this.
Yeah.
We have confidence in you. You're going to be amazing. Just because that person thinks that that's the way that things have to be doesn't mean that it has to be for you. Maybe that is a quicker path to getting more clients, but that doesn't mean that that is the right path for you. And I think about that moment quite a bit. And I just love that I have this amazing support system all around me of people who think that I can succeed and who are there available for me to call and talk me off my ledge when I start freaking out that, that everything's going to go to, I don't know, to shambles. I don't know. And so that was definitely one of the hardest things that I've had to get over, because I really wanted to quit right then.
Wow. And I see that, that you're still bringing up emotion for you all these years later. That someone, honestly, what that person did was incredibly cruel. That they don't know you from Adam, and they're laying down this binary of this is there's only one path to success, and if you don't follow it, you're a failure. And you've told me this story before, and so that's why I'm able to be much more cool than I was the first time I heard it. But I'm sure anyone listening to this is just shouting all sorts of expletives at this person. And I think one of the things that's been the coolest part of my entrepreneurial journey the last 6 years is seeing that there's no one way to run a successful business. And I know things about your business that, we don't necessarily need to get into on a public podcast, but I know that you're doing really well for yourself. You've built a really strong, great business, and, you have this incredible platform where you can take this baby all the way. And boy, do I wish this lady were listening right now. So she hear what a crock of poo-poo she was spouting off that day. And, we do have to consider that was more about her than it was about you.
And also, she's never owned a business before. She, it's a totally different perspective. I would assume that another business owner would never say something like that to somebody else.
No. Well, yeah, again, don't know you. It's just, that just blows my mind. And I'm so glad that you had people around you to be like, do not listen to this idiot. Because you have done it your own way, and you do get clients from those YouTube videos you made, and you get to do, if you do something that's inauthentic to you to grow, you have to keep doing that. Why would you want to back yourself into a corner like that? Just because you don't want to make cold calls doesn't make, I don't want to make any cold calls, but that doesn't mean I can't run a good business.
Right.
Oh goodness. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that's a vulnerable story, but I hope by people hearing that, they hear themselves in you and think, yeah, I can be courageous and do what's important to me. I don't have to follow a proven, quote unquote, right path. And then B, people really need to be thoughtful about their words. Like, she probably doesn't even remember saying that to you, but you can just casually cast off like, oh, this is the way. And it could really crush somebody. I mean, somebody's little baby dreams are so powerful and so tender, not powerful, so tender and vulnerable. And then you can just squash them. Like, if she caught you, if everybody had been out of town that day, who knows where you'd be right now.
Yeah, they didn't answer the phone.
Yeah.
They were busy.
Well, sticking with this vulnerable trend for a second, was there something growing up where people were like, Brandy, you're so XYZ, like, and it's just really made you feel like that part of you was a weakness, but fast forwarding to today, like, you've realized it's actually your superpower?
This one's been a little bit tricky. I've been thinking about this as I've been listening to your other podcasters, and I have come, and I even went to some of my friends, and I'm like, how do I answer this question? What do I say here? And one of the things that I've come up with is that I stare at people quite a bit. And I gotten in trouble with it a lot as a child and growing up. Like, it's rude to stare at people, I think that what I'm really doing when I'm staring at people is I'm observing them, watching their mannerisms, watching how they move their face, how they move their hands. And then I do copy them. I'm like, oh, I really like how that person put their hair behind their ear. I'm going to copy them and start putting my hair behind my ear that way. Or look at how that person walks. I like how that looks. Or when these two people were fighting in public, this is how their reactions were, or whatever. And just really watching people and observing them. And I think that has helped me a lot in life in weird ways. There's that thing where if you like somebody, you mirror them, but it's also a business technique to mirror people in sales then they, so I feel like I'm very good at mirroring people and talking like them. And when I'm on my sales calls with my prospective attorneys, sometimes people call their special bank account an IOTA account. Sometimes they call it an IOTA or a CASTA, or like they have all these different names for it. And I'm pretty easy. As soon as they say something in some way, it's pretty easy for me to just flip how I talk to them. So that way I'm repeating back the same words that they're saying to me.
Yeah, putting them at ease. They feel safe with you, and like, okay, she's got my back. She's not judging me, or I think especially with money, people bring a lot of baggage with money, and so they can definitely feel. You can speak to it, but like they can feel very insecure, like, oh, don't judge me or whatever.
Oh yeah, for sure. I swear, almost every single person that comes to me is like, I'm so embarrassed of my books. And I asked other bookkeepers about this, and I think it's common, but it's also, I think, a very common thing for attorneys versus other people, because they're highly educated. They, they just feel they have a confidence about them, and they are not good at this. And that is like something to be hidden away and no one knows about, that this is the one area that they're not good about because they're a really great attorney, and they exude all this confidence. And so then when they come to me, they're like, oh, I'm so embarrassed of my books. This is so terrible. Are these the worst books you've ever seen? And I'm like, dude, these are so easy. Like I like, I love more clients like you. Like, this is the best books ever. Bring them on. This is an easy fix. But yeah, they're quite embarrassed of it. So it's helping them, or me helping them feel at ease. And there's not going to be judgment here. And I try not to speak in accounting words to my clients, but if there's something you don't understand, if I've said something and you're like, wait a second, I don't understand that, I want them to feel comfortable enough to say, hey, I don't understand that. So then I can break it down in a different way, explain it in other terms, so they can understand what's going on with their bookkeeping. So then that way they can go out and make more money, go out and help more people. I really think that one of the best benefits that we do is help them go out and help more people. Attorneys are often working with people through the toughest times in their lives, whether that's divorce or even if it's starting a business or whatever. Like, it's a scary time in the person's life. That's why they reached out to the attorney. And so if we can help them do their bookkeeping, then that frees them up. So then that way they can go out and help more people, which I really, really love.
Yeah. I think that's really beautiful. You shared with me once sort of one of the reasons you wanted to serve lawyers. Is that something you feel comfortable sharing on this show?
Yeah, well, I'm happy to. There's lots of different reasons, but my husband was in a motorcycle accident and he's fine. But we hired an attorney to help us collect money to pay for his medical bills. And we ended up not even getting enough to cover the medical bills. And the way that the agreement was with the attorney was, they get a third of it and then we get 2/3 of the money. But our 2/3 wasn't enough to pay for the medical bills. And the attorney ended up giving us more money. They ended up not taking any money. And so that way we could get our medical bills paid for. And that was such a eye-opening experience.
Mm-hmm.
And to see how attorneys really care about their clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it with my clients. I see it, they're constantly discounting their invoices, or they're giving away services for free. We have one client who helps children who are victims of child pornography, and he helps them pro bono to go out and collect funds to help pay for their therapy, to pay for when they set aside a trust when they become an adult. They give them this money so they can have a path to move on beyond this traumatic experience that they grew up with. And so I really, really love working with attorneys and getting to help them make more money. And by making more money, I mean by helping more clients.
Yeah. I think people can have a cynical view of attorneys, but boy, when you need one, you need one.
Right.
And to be able to help them and not have that anxiety and fear around their finances and take care of that. So that's like a really huge lift off of their shoulders and off of their mind and off of their plate, so that they can stay focused on what they need to stay focused on, which is clients. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So do you have a piece of advice that our listeners can do right now to make their lives or companies stronger and better?
I think do stuff that makes you scared.
Oh.
And I took on a big project in August, and leading up to it, after I had said yes that I could do this, for the 2 months beforehand, before I started the project, I had days where I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Then the next day I'd be like, I got this. I can do this. I know I can. And then when the project actually started, I was overwhelmed by it. I'd never done anything like this. I was so stressed, and I thought multiple times about just calling them up and saying, hey, I can't do this. Let me give you your money back. I just can't do this. But eventually I figured it out, and I got it done. And I got it done ahead of time, and the client is extremely happy. And it just, every time you do something that scares you, it makes you a little bit stronger. Mm-hmm. And so now next time I know, I can do that. And here's how I can do that. Or if there's another scary situation, I have this to recall and go, hey, I've made it through scary situations before. I can get through this one.
This is fantastic advice. What do you think was scary about it for you? Was it like imposter syndrome, or was it like you just never done something like that before? Or was it the breadth of it? Like, what was really caused you to be fearful?
I had done a project like it, but on a much, much smaller scale. Mm-hmm. And it had been a while, like several years since I had done it. And I didn't have good notes about how to go about doing it. And then it was also a referral from somebody who's referred quite a bit of business to me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to screw it up, because then I thought that I might screw up that relationship with that referral partner.
Yeah.
And in part, I only said yes to being able to do it because I didn't want to tell the referral partner no,
Yeah.
And so it was just, I probably should have not said yes to it to begin with, but then I ended up getting it done. And I was like, this actually, now that I have the system figured out, I could teach somebody else how to do the system. And it might be a whole other avenue of things that we could do for our customers. So
I love that. And I think, as you grow in your career, as you mature in your career, you maybe don't have quite as many opportunities to do scary things. And so, you don't necessarily want to take on something that you can't do. Like, you have no business doing it. But actually, just anecdotally, a friend of mine had a birthday recently, and she really wanted to sing karaoke. So we're sitting at this dive bar in Fort Worth, and I really can't sing. It's not outside of, you are my sunshine to my children. And I was sat there and I thought, I think I'm going to do it just to scare myself a little bit, just to feel those butterflies. I used to have them all the time. And the more you accomplish, the more you've tried things, there's just not as much that'll, get those butterflies going. And so it's like, I'm going to manufacture this terrifying experience to assault the eardrums of everyone in this bar. And it was as horrible as I thought it was going to be, but I survived and nobody threw a glass at me. So, here we are.
It was probably great. There's people there that enjoyed it, or at least enjoyed the fact that you got up there and they're like, I could never do that.
Yeah. The birthday girl was very happy that I did it. And I was like, there you go. Happy birthday. But yeah, it's just, sometimes you just have to survive something to be like, okay, I'm here and I did it. Like that's behind me. And I'm, even if it's like 1 degree stronger, like you're just that much stronger for going through it. So I love that. I love that advice. Okay. So wrapping up, tell us where people can find you online and do business with you.
So I'm mostly on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I don't know what it is. LinkedIn.com/Brandy Derrick, Brandy with a Y, last name Derrick, Derrick. I do have Facebook, but I'm not really on there that much. And then they can go to my website, legaleasebookkeeping.com.
Okay.
And that's where I'm at.
We'll put those in the show notes as well. So watch Brandy's space for this incredible new lead gen that's going to be coming soon.
Yes. I'm really excited about it.
I'm excited for you. And so you love that like light bulb moment of like, yes, this is the thing. I'm going to do it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's always a treat for me to get to be with you. So, this time everyone just got to listen to us. So.
Well, thank you for having me. This is great.
Thanks for listening to The Impatient Entrepreneur. Love the podcast? Be sure to share it with a friend or colleague or give us a 5-star review on Apple. You can also chat with us on Instagram or Facebook at The Impatient Entrepreneur Pod. Want to star on a future episode? Head over to theimpatienttrepreneurpod.com to inquire. Thank you to the team at Quidar & Co. for believing in me and bringing this podcast to life. And thank you to Carson Childers for mixing and editing this episode. Can't wait to see you next time.